572-0383 and 572-0215. Rev-Up St. Lucia, the alpha of radio.
Welcome to Meet the Minister, your inside look at government in action. Tune in every Friday at 10 a.m. on Rev-Up St. Lucia 97.1 FM for Meet the Minister, a powerful 60-minute conversation with a minister from the SLP government hosted by Jerry Fenelon. Get first-hand insights into the government's policies, programs, and progress as we discuss the issues that matter to you. Stay informed, stay engaged. That's Meet the Minister with Jerry Fenelon, Fridays at 10 a.m. only on Rev-Up St. Lucia 97.1 FM.
Welcome to Meet the Minister, and of course, hosted as always by Mr. Terence Fenelon. Mr. Fenelon, good morning.
Good morning, brother.
Welcome once again.
Good morning, brother Andre. I'm happy to be here again.
I can see that, a big smile.
Oh yeah, I'm always happy to be in the studio. To tell our friends on Facebook, YouTube, X, and our special friends in Auntie Emma's territory, Soufriere.
Yes, I.
Welcome aboard. It's very nice, that you could tune in to hear the facts. No propaganda, no misinformation. And today I have a very special guest with me, the Honorable Jeremiah.
Thank you.
Norbert. There's only JN in
Only N.
Only N.
Is JN.
JN. Correct.
Welcome, Mr. Norbert. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
And today we have, a special thing. But, the producer always, take my 5 minutes, my opening 5 minutes. So let me just say, I want to thank the opposition leader. I don't always do that. I want to big him up today. The Honorable, the leader of the opposition. He went to St. Jude, maybe unauthorized, neither here nor there. As the Prime Minister says, neither here nor there. He's happy. And he was able to say, St. Jude is fit for purpose. Let me reiterate that, because that is crucial. Let me bring the mic closer to me. In the interview before Parliament yesterday, he made the declaration that he went there and it is good. It is fit for purpose. The only problem I have is that an investigation was... He commissioned a study, $1 million, right? Almost, just a few dollars shy. And the report told him so, that St. Jude was fit for purpose. So it took him all this time to admit it was fit for purpose when you had a report that said it was fit for purpose. So my question to the leader of the opposition, what informed your decision to go and build a box for almost $118 million? Wasted taxpayers' money. Yes, I know I'm going to get some flack, but I have to say it. If you could admit that it is fit for purpose, I praise you, because it was always fit for purpose. But you went, Minister Tutbagai commissioned a report which says it was fit for purpose. You ignored it. Somebody went to measure, and they told you the doors were not a human measuring tape. You wasted $118 million in a box, and now you are coming back to eat your vomit to say it is fit for purpose. Solutions. I will deal with this in another forum. So, Mr. Jeremiah,
yes,
nice to have you there. I just needed to, there's more to get off my chest. I'll get it in another forum. It's nice to have you there. Let me just start, you want to say hello to the people first before we start?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me and having me here as a guest. And I think it is an opportune time to see the importance of programs like this where, as you said, no misinformation, no disinformation, where we can actually speak about facts. We can actually have a conversation, a dialogue with the citizenry of St. Lucia about what some of their concerns are. Not very often as ministers we go on the shows to deal with especially ministerial issues. Most times our focus is, we have our town halls, but at the town halls we place more emphasis on constituency issues rather than ministerial issues. So I think it is an opportune time to deal with some of the matters. And so, we hear a lot of things about the various ministries, and today is a good day to ask the questions and to get the information from the horse's mouth, as the old adage goes, so that when we go out there we can be properly informed, and not just because there's a lot of misconception, there's a lot of misinformation looming around in the air. People have, and we live in a society where people are very gullible, and sometimes they absorb this information and they believe it's gospel. So as I said, I think today is a good day where we can have some sort of dialogue about what's actually happening at my ministry, and we can deal with some of these things at the ministerial level. But even before I go any further, I think today we have something happening. His Grace, the Archbishop has called for a national day, a day of fasting and prayer, and I think that it is very important truth be told, as a society, we've seen the decay in our society. This phrase that held us together as a society, we've seen the decay in it. And I think the church is a very important institution in the development, the holistic development of any society. So I want to commend His Grace, and I want to say that the St. Lucia Labour Party and this administration and the Prime Minister has supported and agreed to be part of this, and I want to encourage other individuals who can to join. I know in Soufrière, Auntie Emma is doing her part. She's doing, I think this evening there's something happening in Soufrière. In most of the constituencies there's something happening, but I think most of it will be focused in Castries. So with that said, I want to encourage St. Lucians to be part of this vigil happening tonight, and also the day of prayer and fasting.
Yeah, and it is not, just let me add, I know people don't want me to talk, but what the Archbishop is doing is biblical, because there are times when men of God have to stand in the gap and make intercession on behalf of the nation. So we want to join, I want to join with you, join my voice with you, to ask all St. Lucians, because we are still a Christian society,
it doesn't matter
to intercede. That's right, to intercede for the nation.
That's correct.
Right? Elijah, Abraham, they all did it. Andre is a man of the Bible, he knows that. So we're going to intercede for our nation. So let's get down to brass tacks. Now, Mr. Minister, it's Meet the Minister. So you went through a very harrowing experience, traumatic experience, the accident and stuff. I don't want to dwell on that too much, but has that changed your outlook on life? To some degree?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for want of a better word, try not to relive the experience, but sometimes I think it's important that I can share my own experience with others so that they too can see it from a different lens. For me, personally, I when I reflect on what happened, I'm grateful in that when most individuals ponder on what they've lost, I'm grateful for what I was able to salvage and for where I am today. And I think it is living testimony that I'm just a living testimony that, I mean, a disability is not an inability, and that you can achieve anything that you want to in this world. But this didn't just happen. I thank God for where I am, but this also happened because of who I have at the helm of the St. Lucia Labour Party, somebody who believes in giving opportunities to everyone, doesn't matter your what walk of life you come from in society. And I think Prime Minister made a deliberate attempt when he was making his ministerial portfolios, when he was making his designations, and to allow me to serve in the capacity. And this is the first time that we've had a ministry for specifically dealing with disability in St. Lucia. And I think had I not gone through that traumatic experience, probably it would not have opened. And you see, God have a way of working. Sometimes He uses you in ways that you don't understand. And that's why I tell people, for me, I give thanks in everything, because had that not happened, had I not gone through that experience, I don't know that today would have been, probably we could, but I don't think that we would have been where we are today in terms of having, and to be honest, I think sometimes they'll tell you probably should not have taken a situation like that, but had it not been that, I don't think we would have been where we are. And I'm grateful, because for a very, very long time now, matters of disability have been overlooked and underaddressed in St. Lucia. The community of persons living with disability have been underserved. And for you to truly understand what someone with a disability goes through, as much as we may try to advocate on their behalf, if you don't walk in the shoes of the person with disability, you really would not understand and appreciate what it is that individuals with disability go through, especially in this country. So I'll give you a typical example. After, I think, right now, probably I carry myself well enough, so sometimes people tend to forget that I actually have a disability. So there are little things like would have activities, and given as much as I may carry myself, I have physical impairments, I have mobility issues, so I may not be able to dash across if it rains, open my door and dash across into the supermarket or go into an event. So this is why there are specific disability parking arrangements made for individuals with disability. Even within my own company, within my own circle of friends, sometimes they tend to forget that I have a disability, and there is no arrangements made. So you go to national events, and the parking, sometimes I get the parking furthest away from the entrance. So every now and then I have a responsibility to remind individuals that the parking is made available for a reason. And then you have individuals who are fully able, and they would more or less make a race with you to take the parking. You go to the supermarkets and you see it.
Yes.
And you go to Massey, and I thank Massey. Every time I speak about disability, I think Massey has made a deliberate attempt on their part to try to address as much as they can. They employ individuals with disability, give them economic opportunities, employment opportunities. They've made arrangements outside for the parking. I think courts have one parking, and there's need to have more than one. But we've seen a deliberate attempt on the part of Massey stores in terms of trying to have a society or community, even a culture of inclusiveness. When you look at, they have individuals working at Massey just outside there with hearing aids, and they make provisions for them, and that is the type of culture that we're trying to push and encourage in St. Lucia. So for me, I mean, I would have gone through my experience. I thank God for where I am now, but I believe now that I've been tasked with the responsibility of Minister for Persons with Disability, I don't see this just as a title or a professional role. I take this personal. I take it very, very personal. And I listened to Andrew as I started this morning to say, when people accuse politicians of being corrupt, for instance, how do you deal with it? And persons like myself, I really don't take that to heart. But what I take to heart is having to deal with my situation personally and having to interface with individuals with disability personally, and to know the sensitivity of disability, and hearing people making a mockery. Sometimes out of the ministry itself, you hear people make a mockery. You can't take ministry, I'm disabled. That is where it gets, sometimes it becomes a little difficult to divide the personal and the professional, because for me, I find myself wearing both hats. And that is why I when I went and I took over the ministry, I was very happy when Prime Minister made the announcement. And when I went there, I spoke to the technical people, my PS and my DPS then, and we had extensive conversation about the direction that we're going to go in terms of the ministry. We've done a few things. I can tell you, as we speak today, we've already hired a consultant, we've already started work and we've already started hiring people for the establishment of a disability unit. What we've asked them to do in the short term is to start a disability registry. We do not live in a society where data is forthcoming. And I've asked them, in order for us to make evidence-based decisions that are going to be tailored to the needs of persons with disability, we need the data. So I've tasked them in the immediate to start getting the data, collecting and collating data to ensure that we can now make decisions that are evidence-based, and we're not just hoping and just pulling things out of hats and say, okay, we're just going to do that just because we are a ministry. It is a ministry, one that you must tread with a certain degree of caution, sensitivity, empathy, and that is how we're dealing with it. So I don't feel in no hurry because of the noise out there, just to make a statement or just to go and do something because I want people to see that I'm doing something. I think if we're going to do it, anything we're doing is worth doing well, and that is what guides us at the ministry. So we've asked them to go ahead and start working on the disability registry. We've also asked them in the immediate to start a public education and sensitization campaign. Because what we have in St. Lucia is we do not have a culture where people are very receptive to matters of disability or matters pertaining to anything with disability. We have a situation where our people, if you look at the comments and we look at the treatment that persons with disability get in St. Lucia, the challenges that they have to deal with in terms of access, opportunity to economic empowerment, quite a few issues and challenges that persons with disability face. And that is why I said that I will take my time to ensure that whatever we do it well. So we've asked them to embark on a public sensitization campaign, a huge PR campaign, where we can sensitize people about matters relating to disability and around that. Also, we've already, whilst we're doing that in the short term, we would have announced at this year's budget that Prime Minister actually made an allocation for us to start a national prosthetic center. We almost at the closing stage of signing a memorandum of understanding with the Jude Hospital and the St. Lucia Rotary Club, where we're going to establish a national prosthetic center, one that is going to be able to provide for individuals who have physical disabilities or mobility issues who may require a limb here and there. We're going to be able to provide them with limbs.
Free of charge?
No, it's not going to be free of charge, but it's going to be much cheaper, very affordable, and I'm sure that with the Prime Minister that we have here, if any individual have any challenge in terms of pain, that they are going to have mechanisms in place to ensure that that does not prevent somebody from obtaining a limb. What we try to encourage people to do is not take advantage of the system. And we have a situation where individuals believe that they can, because probably we may give in to their requests, and because that they just take advantage. There are individuals who can really afford a limb if they have to, but they believe, here's what, let me put the government under some pressure, on agency under pressure, and I will play that I cannot afford, and let me see if I can get a brick here and there. And this goes back to sensitizing people and the type of culture that we have here, where every man believes that he can get a blight here and there. And we're really trying to move away from that type of attitude and that type of culture. But we're working, as I said, we've already identified a place, started retrofitting it, and very soon we'll be in a position to make a public announcement in relation to this particular venture, the National Prosthetic Center. And that is going to go a very long way in ensuring, because I can tell you personally that a prosthetic can really change your life. It reduces the level of dependence on others for certain things. And we have quite a few St. Lucians living in St. Lucia who, if given an opportunity to get a prosthetic, will really, really change their life. There's a young lady who have been at me, and I'm going to try my best to see what we can do to assist her. I think she got shot. She was involved in there was a shooting in Babuno one time when there was a vigil, and it led to her having to get an amputation. And this has really, really not just traumatized her, but it has affected her, because she used to care and provide for her children, and from the time of the incident, she has not been able to work. So had she been given an opportunity to get a prosthetic, and we're working on it because she needs an above knee, which is a little more technical than the below knee. The below knee is a little more simple, but the above knee requires a little more technicality in terms of the way it's manufactured and whatnot. Even walking with it is a little more challenging because you don't have the flexibility of your knee. So from the ministry standpoint, and one thing I want to say on that again is that we're also working on, I think in Barbados not too long ago, they passed the National Disability Policy, and they passed it in Parliament. What we are doing is, and I've already tasked my department to start the work and have consultation. We had some consultations earlier this year with different stakeholders involved with disability, and we started the dialogue as to where we're going, what we want to see, and what can we do, and how can we implement disability-specific legislation for the individuals in the community in this country living with disability. So we're doing quite a bit at the ministry level, albeit you hear I'm not the kind of person to come and boast and gloat about the work that we do. Especially, I say I do what I do for the good cause. I don't do it because I'm waiting for somebody to come and praise me or carry me on some pedestal. I do it, and I thank God that Prime Minister saw it fitting to have a ministry dealing specifically with disability affairs. So I think the time is coming where we can actually give the level of attention we can give that we can now have a society that is more inclusive, not just give lip service, but we can actually start doing the work. And my hope is that doesn't matter which administration is there today, tomorrow, that same level of attention, that same level of interest is placed on disability and matters, because disability is anyone, and the truth is, at any given point in your life, we don't choose disability.
That's right.
You can become disabled through gun violence, through accidents, through natural occurrences,
illness,
health issues. Correct. So it is not something that I think we should. There are things that we can politicize if we want to, but there are matters that transcends any political lines, and we need to give it that sort of national attention. And disability is one of these things. So
that's wonderful. I mean, that was up my alley, but you went right there. So I think you have given a comprehensive report on that. We can come back to that at some other point. You understand? Let me just ask you, just try to be brief on this one. Your stint as Deputy Speaker, how did that? What was the experience like, and how did it prepare you for your present role as a full-fledged minister?
I think, to be quite honest with you, one of the things that augured very well for me during my time as Deputy Speaker is who was the Speaker at the time. So Mr. Claudius Francis, I think he takes his job very serious, and he is not one who just takes his job serious. If you work with him, he's going to impart knowledge on you, he's going to do the necessaries. And also at the Parliament, there was a very good team. And so getting in there was like an orientation process for me for what I have to deal with now. So I find it very easy now to go into the house. I understand the procedures of the house, I understand the rules of the house, and I think it makes it very easy and comfortable for me as a young one, because all of us who enter politics, we come from various walks of life. Sometimes you have no idea. I mean, so probably before entering politics, you may never have even watched a parliament sitting. So what my stint as deputy speaker did for me was really prepare me for what I'm dealing with now. And apart from being, usually the deputy speaker would not be invited to cabinet. That was not the case with me. The prime minister he chose to invite me to cabinet, so they can give you an invitation to cabinet. So I was allowed to sit in cabinet at every sitting, which also assisted me for my role now. So when I came in, when I became a minister, going into the cabinet room was not novel for me, because I'd been there, I was listening, and I was not just a observer, I was given an opportunity to speak and make representation on behalf of my people whilst at cabinet. So yes, it really prepared me for where I am.
Yeah. Now you have another portfolio. That's the heavy one. That's the one where I suspect you must be having sleepless nights.
Yeah.
Crime prevention, and that occupies, I think, the minds of all solutions, especially the rise in gun violence. Although I think the statistics show that crime has decreased, but the gun violence, this is a sticking point. Okay, so I mean, how do you deal with that? To the extent that you could divulge, what strategies, what mechanisms, what are you all doing to deal with this?
I think I need to clear the air. I've tried that on numerous occasions, just to give people a bit of clarity as to what the role of the Ministry of Crime Prevention involves, because I think there is a common misconception that probably because of the word crime, people believe that if there is a homicide, what is the Minister about Crime Prevention saying on a homicide? What is he's been a bit silent on the shootings. What is he doing with the police? And I think it's important that we set clear lines and clear demarcations so people understand what is your role vis-a-vis that of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is still the one responsible for national security in this country. And that the police falls directly under the watch of the Prime Minister, under the purview of the Honorable Prime Minister. When Prime Minister announced the Ministry of Crime Prevention, I think in his announcement he said that my responsibility is more coordinating than controlling, if you get what I'm saying. So as we speak, we've employed I think this month we've employed the research officer, who's a consultant, Dr. Montel Felix, who studied and I think very soon he'll be meeting the press himself. He studied in Taiwan, a former policeman like myself. He has a PhD in crime prevention. He has been here, he's back here, and he's doing some work. He's now with the Ministry of Home Affairs, and his task is to, and I know he hit the ground running, because he has sent letters to all the agencies. So his job now is to look at all the agencies and the institutions involved in crime fighting at different levels. So from attendance at schools, to look at where the gaps are, and to see what can we do, what are some of the policies, what are some of the decisions, what are some of the measures that we can take to bridge the gaps that we identify. So we deal even with the social programs that we have, whether they're actually meeting the mandate, and for him to do periodic reviews to see whether or not we're actually achieving our target in terms of our programs and our policies in terms of crime prevention. Not necessarily the hardcore part of we provide. I mean, we work as a government and all of us have a responsibility to play our part. But as I said, there's a common misconception that I'm responsible for the police and I'm supposed to be directing the police, and a little more should be said. If any Prime Minister at every given opportunity speaks about crime and what he is doing and what his ministry is doing in terms of crime prevention and in terms of national security. So our role essentially is to coordinate. So we're going to try to create what we call almost like in Barbados they had a similar program where you have like an umbrella body that provides oversight and coordinates some of the things that happen. So we look at the social programs, we look at the NGOs involved like Ubuntu and the other agencies, Rise and Show who have been involved. We bring them in, we engage them, we look at what they are doing. Some of them involved in violent interruption measures like Ubuntu. So you see what you do is have community leaders who have been involved one way or the other in criminality and who have I don't want to say baptize and change, but they've converted and they now want to make a difference. So they work with these individuals, get them in the public. We had the USAID, we run certain programs. We're also looking at the rehabilitation. So it's a comprehensive, it will take me quite a bit of time if we have to go through the real mandate of the Department for Crime Prevention. But it's one that goes beyond guns and police. It's one where we look at the social interventions. At the educational levels, we had discourse. It is when we engage Minister of Education to see what are some of the gaps, and his technical people realize that we have some attendance issues with students. And these students, the data would show these are the same students who have very high dropout rates and whatnot. These are the same children who will later down the line find themselves falling between the cracks. So what we've done is we put in more counselors. We've given the Ministry of Education more counselors to ensure that these children are dealt with in a way that is professional, in a way where they get the necessary assistance and help that they need. We have school attendance officers now. I think at one time it was only one for the entire island. I think now we're going to have 3 or 4 of them, so it can be more coordinated. So our job at the ministry is to ensure that all of these things, all the efforts are coordinated, and it comes and we can look at it from one. We can sit down here and look at, okay, these are the efforts, and this is how it's working, this is not working. We can do the monitoring and evaluation and provide guidance to all other agencies in terms of what they are doing, what part they are playing in terms of crime prevention.
So, Mr. Nova, just a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Can you just explain to us what is meant by crime prevention? Because you also use the word crime fighting.
Yeah.
Right? Do you think that the crime prevention may be confusing the public in terms of how they perceive you and your work?
That is why, Andrew, when I started off, I said there's a common misconception. So we're dealing with the softer parts, the social programs, and these elements of crime. The harder part of the police is left for we work with the police. We work with the police. I mean, they must go hand in glove. So we work very closely with the police. Actually, the police is going to have a representative within our ministry dealing with the whole crime prevention strategy. So we work in hand in glove with the police. But as I said, our focus is not on the arrest and prosecution. That is left for the judiciary and the national security. Ours is ensuring that we put in measures in place where we realize there are gaps to ensure that before that individual gets into the position of committing an offense, that would have intervened and would have been able to have stopgap measures to ensure that these individuals don't find themselves or they don't fall between the cracks.
So, okay. I know, well, you're not involved in the execution of duty, etc., for the police, but how often do you meet with them? Because as you said, you must have synergy.
I have,
How often?
We have a very, very close relationship with the police, because what the police do essentially is going to impact the work that I do at the ministry. So we have a relationship whereby we meet with the police, or we speak with the police almost on a daily basis, or maybe 3-4 times weekly. They must share the data with us, because that is the same data that we're going to use to be able to identify the areas that are more vulnerable. I mean, once upon a time, crime was focused in specific geographic areas. Right now, we realize there's a widespread. So, if you look at the recent spate of homicides, you're having Castries, you're having Soufrière, you're having Dennery, and it becomes a little more difficult for the police now, because it puts a little more pressure on their resources. They're already limited resources. So we have a very, very, as I said, kind of a hand-in-glove relationship with the police, because what they do impacts what we do at the ministry level.
All right, so that the strategies are there to try to assist and try to make sure that the crime is abated somewhat. A hot button issue. Now, folks, we're going to open the lines a little earlier today, because I know you want to talk to the minister. He has an engagement immediately after this, so we cannot really go over time today. So I want to be fair and give the listeners an opportunity to call. The hot button issue, Tyson, and the death of Tyson. We have heard so many conspiracy theories. We have heard the mischief in the media. Some people were on that as though, well, it was the Labour Party who killed Tyson or something. So as far as you could see, what is the situation with Tyson?
I mean, we're confronted with a very unfortunate situation in terms of the death of Tyson. And truth be told, I mean, I want to publicly thank the French authorities for giving us the donation, Tyson. And Tyson was working very well. And it was also part of the crime prevention strategy, because what we have is our borders and ports are very porous. We're not in a first world country where we have all the technology which allows us to scan the way that we want to. So the addition of the dog really made life a lot easier, and I can tell you that we recorded quite a bit of successes with Tyson. It's unfortunate that we have the situation that we faced with now. However, I mean, the matter is still under investigation. It's still under investigation. So I am not going to say too much about Tyson's death. What I'm going to speak about in relation to Tyson is the way in which the matter was treated. And it's sad. It's sad. And then again, it goes back to the culture that we've developed here over time, where I saw several articles looming around the place about the death of Tyson, and I guess there were people already knew autopsy results before those of us who were supposed to be intimately involved. People already had their conspiracy theories. They knew who killed the dog, why the dog was killed. They said the dog was killed, and they knew.
It was also said that the dog was exhumed.
Yes. Well, I heard that as well. Quite a bit of conversation was generated around the death of Tyson. And it's a big blow. I will tell you, it's a big blow for us, because we need, but that is not going to stop us from doing what we have to do. And I think Prime Minister has already started looking for alternatives or replacement for Tyson. And it speaks to us having not been solely reliant, because when we have two dogs donated by the French. But I think Tyson was the one that generated a lot more conversation, and he was seen out a little more often than the other dog. But it speaks to us now having to bolster our efforts, improve our efforts in terms of having and I know when the drug unit, we almost complete the drug unit at Latok, and there in that building they actually built a proper K9 unit where the dogs are going to be able to get the level of care and protection that they require for them to do the work that we bring them in to do. But again, it's a big blow. It is one that really, and as I said, we're already recording quite a bit of success with Tyson. So, but the conversation surrounding it, the way people turn everything political, partisan, and to try to make it seem like politicians were directly involved in the death of Tyson, I think that's sad. I think we need to openly denounce that type of thing, because there, as I said, there are issues that are bigger than partisan politics. And we should not take every opportunity or everything that floats. We should take it and just try to see how we can use it to gain political points or to score political points. The death of Tyson, anyone who is really concerned about the national security of St. Lucia, the safety of the citizenry of St. Lucia, would not go down that road, because Tyson was able to detect drugs, firearm, cash, was well trained. And I said, when a firearm gets through the ports here, it has no eyes, bullets have no conscience, and those individuals who facilitate it, I've said to them, when a round is discharged, it does not look to see if Andrew is wearing a yellow shirt or a red shirt. It has no conscience. So we have to be very, very, very careful with some of the things that we perpetuate through the public, and we allow and we speak about and we turn into to political footballs, because when it hits home is when you really understand. And I say that and I spoke about my own experience with my accident. So you never really understand until you're faced or confronted with the situation.
So just to be sure, Tyson was not exhumed?
I cannot tell you. I cannot say categorically yes or no, Andre. What I can assure you is, in very, very, very short order, you and others within the media will be given a full disclosure on what transpired with Tyson.
So let us repeat that for the mischief makers and talk show hosts who are deliberately bent on destroying this country. I'm using that strongly. Investigation into the death of Tyson is presently ongoing.
Yes.
So there is no, all what is written and said on different platforms That's irrelevant.
We've always tried to encourage people to get the information from sources that are verifiable, from the credible sources. Get it from the horse's mouth. So allow the commissioner and his team to come and tell you exactly what is happening. I think at the last press conference, Commissioner echoed the same thing I just echoed, that they're dealing with the matter is under investigation. And when they are done with the investigation, the public will be made aware of what transpired in relation to Tyson.
But you know, Mr. Norbert, I as a talk show host, I get a lot of calls.
Yes.
And one of the things that you hear repeatedly is, we do not trust the police to handle this matter. Would you like to address that?
Yeah, I think the police have come a long way in terms of trying to reestablish that level of trust and confidence with the public, although we've had a few instances, and in recent times we've seen few videos going around the place that does not really help the situation. But I can tell you, as a former policeman, that I trust the police to do the job that they have to. Sometimes the police come under undue scrutiny, undue backlash. A lot of what the police come under is unwarranted, and most times when they do good work, you don't hear people praising them. I can tell you that we have full confidence in the former commissioner of police and the current commissioner of police to do, and the hierarchy of the organization, the Royal Central Police Force, to do their work and do it in a way that is professional, in a way that is responsible and respectful. I have no doubt that the police is going to deal with the matter in a way that is professional. And if it is not dealt, there are other agencies, there are external agencies. If we feel there is need to get an inquiry done because we don't trust what is done or what is presented by the Royal Central Police Force, there are other steps that we can do. But I have absolutely no doubt, Andre, that the police are going to do what is professional, given the circumstances that we're faced with.
Because it's high stakes, and there are a lot of it has generated a lot of interest, and the police, I think they understand that. Yes, they understand that. But let me ask you, has that strained our relationship with the French?
Not really. We have, in August, we're having a meeting with the French, and just prior to Tyson's death, myself and Prime Minister and Commissioner of Police were in Martinique for a day. I think it was on the 30th of April, before the opening of Jazz, or the opening of Jazz.
Yes.
On that day we were in Martinique. We had conversations with the French and with the French authorities about them providing even more aid and to thank them for what they were doing for us in terms of helping us with national security and also with our health system. And I think at that time Prime Minister also made a check available to the French authorities to clear the bills that we had at Lamartine,
yes,
and all the other hospitals. And the conversations with them as it pertains to national security went very well. I think they were able to express what some of their concerns were. As you know, Martinique is a stone throw away, and whatever affects St. Lucia affects Martinique. So the drugs, the firearms, very porous borders, they go through St. Lucia and Martinique very easy. So I don't think that it has strained our relationship. I think what it has done is even giving them that further that they need to even bolster their efforts in terms of what what they can give us and how we can improve our efforts in terms of crime fighting.
Yeah, that's nice to know. Now, one final question before I open the lines. Andre, you'll give out the numbers. Not yet. I don't know if that is up your alley, if you could answer that, or I have to leave that to the Prime Minister when he returns. The lay law. Can you, are we any closer to resolving this thorny issue? Because we know it's affecting the training and stuff for the police.
Yeah, but that's an issue that has been in existence for a little while now. And what we've done is to explore even alternatives in terms of training. And with our diplomatic friends, I know External Affairs have been very vigorous and they've been relentless in their efforts in terms of where can we get training for our police officers. And we've really expanded the pool of trainers or individuals, countries that have been giving support to us in that regard. So as it relates to the lay law, I would allow Prime Minister to handle that.
Okay, it's more national security. Okay, Andre, you could give the numbers. So we can open the lines. The Minister has an engagement immediately after, so we shall not keep him.
Okay.
So I think he has given us a lot of information so far. So let's hear from you. Now listen, when you call, you ask questions, don't speechify. We have a lot of people lined up and they want to ask questions.
And whilst we're there, Terry, and whilst we're waiting on the calls, I think it's important to note that Home Affairs goes beyond crime prevention and persons with disability. That was 2 additions. But the Ministry of Home Affairs is still there.
Right.
St. Lucia Fire Service, the Public Correctional Facility, Probation and Parole, all of these agencies fall directly under the purview of myself as the Minister in the Ministry of Home Affairs, and we're doing quite a bit of work there. I know the St. Lucia Fire Service for under the CDB, enhancing the resilience of the St. Lucia Fire Service project. We expended somewhere in the tune of about almost $50 million in the fire service. As we speak, there are 2 aerodromes on the port that we are going to be clearing sometime early next week and going to be handing over to the St. Lucia Fire Service. We've seen an increase in terms of the fleet of ambulances because some of these ambulances that were there were outdated and were aged. So we've increased the fleet of ambulances. We've given the firemen the psychosocial support. So under the project, there was an allocation to hire professionals to provide debriefing sessions for firemen, because these individuals are first responders. They deal with the trauma, but we do not have something established to provide assistance for them. So right now under the project, that has been established, so they can get the level of debriefing and professional help that they need. At Bodley, we've working very closely with Bodley to create, and with probation and parole too, or to create like diversion programs. We're going to do a comprehensive review of the operations of the Bodley Correctional Facility with the hope of placing more emphasis on the rehabilitative component and not on the punitive component, because for a very long time now we've been placing a lot of attention and effort on ensuring that people are punished. And what happens is, some of these individuals, sometimes they go there for what we consider quote-unquote trivial offenses, and they become hardened criminals by the time they come out. And when they come out, because they have a record, it becomes very difficult to reintegrate them into society. And even, again, goes down to the culture of our people. Once you've gone to jail, they label you and identify you as more or less an outcast. You go to apply for a basic job at a hotel. One of the prerequisites is that you need a police record. And if your police record is stained in any way, it doesn't matter the level of the offense. Most times you're already placed on a side or you're sidelined because there's one. Now, how do we expect these people to properly reintegrate into society if we're not going to give them a real opportunity to be able to become self-sustained? They can work, and not everybody is minded to become entrepreneurs, and even then, when they want to become entrepreneurs, they need a start. So we had the USAID running a program for us called CREP, Community Reintegration Program. Well, you know what happened when Trump put the work stop order on everything. That stopped. But what we've done is we're looking at incorporating, taking government now bearing the cost of continuing the program in the new financial year. Because the program was actually bearing good fruit. And we have people in St. Lucia, we have people in corporate St. Lucia who are willing to assist us in our fight. Caribbean Grains Quality Meats, what they do is, when we train these inmates, they provide a platform for these inmates to come and provide labor. So these inmates go to Caribbean Grains Quality Meats and they actually work. And most of these inmates, when they are released from prison, they are absorbed by that company or whichever company they work in, which is very well. And what we realize is very low recidivism rates with individuals who actually get an opportunity to work whilst in prison. So that is the direction we're looking in terms of when we're doing our review of the operations of Bodley, placing a lot more emphasis on the rehabilitative component, getting individuals to understand that going to jail doesn't mean that this is the end of the road. That doesn't mean that this is the end of your life. And for our citizens to become more receptive to people who have gone for a rehabilitative process, because we provide psychosocial support, life skills and career guidance support, provide a whole heap of support, and then we try to get them in terms of working. We have a program now at Bodley called commercializing prison inmate. So commercializing labor, the labor of the prisons. So what we have is individuals who actually trained within the piggery, the rabbitry. We have these things working the farms, and really trying to give people an opportunity to say that this is not the end of the road for you going to prison. So I just mentioned that to tell you that Home Affairs, also even probation and parole, had it not been for probation and parole, we would have even greater backlog in the court system, because they do quite a bit of mediation, and when these mediations are successful, the matter comes to a close and these matters no longer show up in the system. So there's quite a bit that is happening within the Ministry of Home Affairs, Crime Prevention, and Persons with Disability.
We have a call yet, Andre?
Yes, we do.
Oh, you need your. Oh, my word.
Yeah.
You've been hanging on there for a long time. Sorry about that. Yes. Welcome. Thanks for calling me, the Minister. Let's have your question,
Good morning.
please.
Good morning, Andre. Good morning, Mr. Minister. Good morning, Mr. Fenelon.
Good morning,
Good morning,
sir.
sir.
Morning.
Thanks for accepting my call.
Yes.
Welcome.
Mr. Minister, short and sweet. Is the 10-year passport available now?
So we've already done all of the preparatory works. We're in a position to launch.
Okay.
We're in a position to launch the passport, and I think probably sometime next week, Prime Minister may make an official announcement about the start date. But we're in a position to go. We've engaged CBN, done the necessary changes. I think there were a few legislative changes that had to be done as well. So we've already done that, and I think we're ready to go. It's just a matter of Prime Minister announcing officially whether it's, I don't want to preempt, but I'm thinking if it's not this month, it's going to be very, very early next month that we're going to actually officially launch the 10-year passport.
Okay, thank you, caller. But I miss this caller when the Prime Minister was on. He always calls about the NIC and the pension. So we missed him. Next time, I hope he gets the line to call the Prime Minister so we can rearrange for him. Tell him what he needs to hear. Okay, we have another call.
Yes, we do.
Yes, good morning. Welcome. Thanks for calling me, the Minister. Let's have your question, please.
Hi, good morning. I heard the French ambassador, the High Commissioner, said almost 10 years ago another canine was killed. Was there any report on that first canine that was killed?
Killed or
died? He said.
Died.
He said that was not the first canine. There was one almost 10 years ago which they gave. Was there any report on that one?
You aware of that, Mr. Minister?
No, I'm not aware of I'm not saying that she's correct or incorrect, but I'm not aware. I'm not in a position to speak on this one.
Maybe sometimes animals die from natural causes. There's not always something suspicious about the death. I mean, we are very sorry. Tyson was great at what he did.
We live in a society.
We'll find out. Yes.
So we can probably
disseminate the information.
Correct.
Yes. Welcome to Meet the Minister. Let's have your question, please.
Good morning, Andre.
Yes.
Morning.
Good morning, Mr. Fenelon. Good morning, Jeremiah Norbert.
Good morning, sir.
Two questions.
Yes, sir.
For the minister, Mr. Fenelon.
Yes, sir.
One, why was the K9 unit disbanded? Because we all knew that the K9 unit played a vital role in terms of the apprehension of ammunition, drugs, and firearms.
Yeah.
And it was Mr. Norbert, it was your deputy prime minister who said that the $40,000 a month was too much to secure the people, to secure our borders and the people of St. Lucia. So what was the logic? What was the reasoning from your government disbanding the K9 unit?
Okay, question 2.
That's question 2. The people of St. Lucia want to know because 642 Tyson, the dog, the K9 dog, died mysteriously. And then we heard kind of a lame statement coming from the Assistant Commissioner of Police. And to date, from what I'm hearing, and I'm sure many people, the public would agree with me, that we're not hearing anything. That the French authorities donated this dog to St. Lucia. The French ambassador made a statement, a concerning statement. And up to a day like today, it's like the investigation have gone cold. And what is more concerning to me is that you have certain operatives of the St. Lucia Labour Party downplaying this thing, it's just a dog. And I want them to...
no, you have that. Let's not go to the operatives of the Labour Party. Let the minister answer because you have asked 2 good questions. Let's answer. Thank you very much. Do you want to take them in any order?
Yeah, so I think we'll start with the last question about Tyson, and I addressed that.
You addressed that, yes.
I said that the investigations are ongoing. I heard the caller said that it appears like the matter has gone cold. I can assure him that that is not the case. This is the furthest from the truth.
Right.
And it's not a situation where, similar to what I spoke about, given the sensitivity of the matter, it's not one where you want to just rush and just come and say something, and especially given the type of attention that the situation has attracted. You want to ensure that the information you're giving to the public is correct. The information that you're giving to the public in relation to the investigation is right information, and you do not want anybody. And I think one of the reasons we are where we are it's because of the misinformation that's been
Yes.
disseminated about Tyson's death. And he said Tyson died mysteriously. Allow the investigation to continue. And I'm sure the commissioner, again, he does a monthly press briefing. He will be in a position to be able to tell you a little more very soon about how the investigation is going. As it relates, I think he also mentioned about the disbanding of
The canine,
the canine
$40,000, etc.
yeah, and I think that was addressed. That has been addressed on various platforms in terms of it. I don't want to call it a complete disband. There was a review, and we realized here's what. And even the housing, there was quite a few things that we have to take into consideration when we think of canines. I do not want to, again, when we appear to try to turn it political as it relates to the disbanding of the canine unit. Right now, we are in a position where the police have trained individuals who can actually deal with the canines. We had the 2 canines donated from French because we understand the importance of the. I don't think there's a price that you can really place by the security of a nation. So he said that they said the $40,000 was too much in terms of maintaining the canines. For me, I will tell you there is no price tag that you place on the life of public of the public of St. Lucians. There's no price tag because the price for not doing it is a lot more expensive. But I know at the time there was a periodic review, and then the decision came, and different people may have different opinions and different policy positions as it relates to certain things. And I think the decision was to do a review, see what is happening, and then come with something. If we felt probably at the time it was necessary, continue with it, and if they felt they could have gone.
But the point is, we do have a canine unit.
Yeah,
so even if a review, we do have one.
Yeah.
So to happen that it was disbanded and stuff, we do have one in place, and that is what is, to me, is important. We do have a canine unit.
Yes, we have a canine.
Good morning and welcome to Meet the Minister. Let's have your question, please.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am curious. We've always had a canine unit, but suddenly everybody's concerned. But what has me curious this morning is, in speaking about the canine unit or the dog that died, I heard Andre said the dog was exhumed. I just seek clarification for the explanation in this regard, because that would mean that the dog was killed and buried and exhumed for whatever reason. I'm seeking clarification.
Well, Andrew was just asking a question and he wasn't sure. He was just asking for clarification. It was not a definite statement. He just wanted clarification. So we should not float that out in the public domain that the dog was buried and then exhumed. We do not know that. No, it's there, but the minister has clarified that. So
that is why
we shouldn't be happy on that, you know. Okay.
That is why I'm seeking clarification.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
All right. There's no the thing there, and as he says, the crop will do that. All right. Good day, sir. Welcome to Meet the Minister. Let's have your question, please.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Morning.
Mr. Minister, can you please supply the citizen of St. Lucia how far are we from getting a comprehensive headquarters for the fire service? And the second question, your administration, are they in a position to, as you said, you are rehabilitating people out of the prison, and if people like Marcy or Peter and Company or Carrasco or whoever employed them, even Andre Paul, are you willing to give them a tax break if they employ these people? That's my question to you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. So as it pertains to the fire headquarters, we've already established a committee. Prime Minister actually put some money in this year's budget to be able to do the technical work. So I think they were looking at 2 or 3 locations to see which one was more suited for the fire headquarters. We've been in constant conversation, and hopefully before the end of this financial year, we will be in a position. In next year's budget, we're hoping to have an allocation to actually commence work on the fire service in the fire service headquarters. So we are and we've been doing quite a bit in terms of fire service. We just established the West Coast Fire Station that's going to be opening very soon to take off some of the work on the fire service in Castries and Soufrière. But we already started the work. We already started commissioning the technical people have been engaged. We're looking at the suitability of different locations, and hopefully in terms of infrastructural works, we should be in a position sometime next year to probably have a sword turning ceremony to start works on the St. Lucia Fire Service headquarters. And then I think his second question was
providing incentives.
Tax breaks yes.
Yeah, so this is a conversation that we've started to encourage other individuals to do similar to what Caribbean Grains and Quality Meats are doing, to be able to give them, and we've had conversation, I think the cabinet is minded to go down that way, to incentivize the companies or that are willing to take on these prisoners and give them a platform where they can come and do the work. So yes, that is the mind of the cabinet, and we're hoping that we can actually see this come to realization very soon.
Great stuff. Next all, welcome to Meet the Minister. Let's have your question, please. This one dropped, Andre?
No. Hello?
You need to speak up, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can
hear you now. Yes, go ahead.
I said good morning.
Good
Mr.
morning.
Minister,
Good morning. We were not hearing you.
Panel.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sir, I was listening to your program earlier, and you said the different issues that you're putting together to fight crime in this country. You would agree with me, this is a very small country, and the crime rate is way too high per capita when it comes to crime in this small island nation. One of the things you did not address was the drug trade and the gangsters, the gangs that are just killing people, and that's okay, if I may say so. What is it your government is doing to disband this kind of drug trade and the gangbangers in St. Lucia? That's number one. Number two, when Labour Party is in opposition, they have all the answers for everything. I remember hearing the Prime Minister said the government has failed us when it comes to crime when he was in opposition. Now that he is in government, is it fair for us to say the same thing?
Okay, thank you. To call, yes, thank you very much.
All right. As it relates to the drug trafficking and the illicit firearms coming into our country, we realize, and I would have said it earlier, Andre, that we have very porous borders in St. Lucia, and we realize over the years we've seen more and more gangs manifest themselves and individuals. We also have a culture in St. Lucia where we more or less praise these individuals who are involved instead of condemning them and calling them out. What we do is we praise them and we treat them somewhat like gods. And because of that culture we've allowed to perpetuate over the years, it becomes very difficult now to go and just dismantle. And it's going to take some time. However, that has not deterred us or deterred our efforts. The police, I know, are working day in and day out, and you would have seen the establishment of the guns, narcotics, and firearms. Sorry, guns, narcotics, and gangs.
Yes.
Narcotics and firearms. Unit, who have been, the commission have mandated them to go out there and to deal with this. I think some of the things we have is we have gang legislation that no administration has ever really utilized to try to dismantle these gangs, and now is a perfect time for us to start making use of the legislation that we have there. And I always say that, I think I said that at the press briefing pre-cabinet, when we pass legislation, is because we believe at the time we pass legislation there is a need to. So as policymakers, we go and we pass legislation, we give stiffer penalties, and then you have a so-called independent body called the judiciary, who is entrusted with ensuring that the legislation is administered in a way that aligns with the intention of the government and the people, because what our legislation is supposed to be what we are getting from the people. Sometimes the alignment isn't there. You would have seen in Soufriere, I mentioned, where you have individual who was caught with a firearm, went to court, got bail, and now went back out, and we had to arrest him for murder thereafter. And it speaks to some of the gaps that we have in our system, and we are aware of the gaps, and we're putting in measures to try to address these gaps. As it relates to the guns and the gangs, it is it is a challenge for us because we have so many ports of entries. So you have all the little ports along the coast, and we are not. And what we've done is we realized that at one time you only had the big marine vessels, and they were unable to enter certain areas. What we've done is we've given the police smaller vessels, we've given them jet skis, we've given them, and that is our job, to be able to give the police the resources that they need to go out there and do their work. And where we realize that they have gaps, the police have a responsibility to tell us, here's what, we are only able to go here and there and there, and that is what we need. And as a government, what we do is we provide you. When we provide you, we expect results. To say that when we were in opposition, that the Prime Minister had all the answers, I think that's an unfair statement. What you do is make certain recommendations. You would give, and that is the job of any opposition, including the one here today. If you figure you have a good recommendation, there is nothing or an alternative to what something that we're doing is to be able to make that public, or to give your recommendations and your alternatives to what we're currently doing to the government, and to see whether or not we're going to take it or we're going to leave it. And we're more than willing, I think Prime Minister have said to me personally, that we're more than willing to work with every agency, every institution, every political institution, every political party, NGO that believes that they have a answer or solution. We're willing to take them in, and that is why we have the unit now, and we have somebody dedicated to dealing with anybody who has any sort of cure that they believe to work with them.
Are you taking any more calls? Because the minister, you said,
I know he has to go.
Meeting.
Let's just take one more call. Maybe that might be an interesting call.
Right.
Welcome to Meet the Minister.
Right.
Let's have your question. Be brief, please. Be brief. No speechifying. Let's have your question.
Oui, bonjour tout le monde. Bonjour.
Morning.
Ces politiciens, zot bon, ces politiciens, ça, toujours qu'à parler en future tense. Qui joue zot kay decently sien. Ka commencé 1er avril, et bien 1er août, et bien 1er septembre. Qui joue nous kay tant zot kay di nous ça, les politiciens? Parce que zot toujours ka di, nous ka gade, we are looking at, we must, zot toujours ka parler en future tense. Nous vle zot di nous ka commencé mardi et bien mercredi, en bagay kay fait positivement. Et puis, Fenelon, ou c'est un teacher. Ministère ou la parle, il a dit,
All right, thank you, caller. You are really on yeah. Mr. Minister, you have your final thoughts, Mr. Minister?
Well, again, Terry and Andrew, I think it was a pleasure being here. I'm happy to have been given an opportunity to ventilate some of the issues or some of the concerns that the public have about what we're doing at the Ministry of Home Affairs, Crime Prevention and Persons with Disabilities. And as I said, we're open. If anyone has any questions, we're more than, Andrew, you can always give me a call. If you have any queries or anything you're unsure about, you can always give me a call.
I don't have your numbers yet.
519 it has become public knowledge.
We'll talk.
So yes. So again, at the Ministry of Home Affairs and Crime Prevention, we're more than happy to be dealing with the matters of disability, especially disability-specific matters. And I know the last caller, I know you said probably we should not address it, but there are some things that we must address.
Yeah.
And you said that usually politicians speak in future tense. And I want to correct the caller. I think as soon as we started speaking, I told you what we were doing in the immediate and short term as the department with responsibility for persons with disability. Also, I mentioned what it is that we're doing at the fire service and home affairs with Borderly, what is happening there now, what is it we embarked on this year, and what it is that we're going to do moving forward. Also, from I mentioned that we already started the works as it relates to the National Prosthetic Center. Quite a bit of things happening at the ministry. So I think it is an unfair and unjust statement. However, I mean, everybody is entitled to his or her opinion. We welcome it. And Andre asked, how do we deal with some of these things? Tell you, Andre, this is the nature of the job at hand. And if you're thin-skinned and if you're afraid of criticism, I can tell you politics is not for you. Although sometimes the criticism is unwarranted, sometimes unjust, sometimes you look at it, when you look at the accusations that have been made, you ask yourself, why, whether you really want your children to get into politics. But my thing is that we as politicians have a responsibility to call out individuals when they behave that way, to sensitize the public about it. Because we're human beings as well, and you have families, you have children, you have people. So again,
Mr. Minister, thanks for coming in and briefing the nation. On this program, we are not afraid to face the nation. We come with the facts, the evidence. Yes, we are not perfect, but we tell you exactly what is. And with us, it's not woulda, coulda, shoulda. The minister told you what is being done, what has been done, etc. So you take it, deal with it as you want. You may not like to hear what you're hearing, the progress and so much that is happening. But on this program, you'll just get the facts, okay? The evidence is there. So I want to thank you again for tuning in to Meet the Minister. And Andre, hopefully, God willing, we shall be back.
Next Friday.
Next Friday. I don't know who the guest will be yet, but next Friday we should have another interesting program. The minister will be back at some point. Then he'll talk about Biko North constituency, because there's a lot happening. He'll keep us up to date on what is happening in the ministry, and he'll tell us what's happening in the constituency. So adios. Have a very good weekend, please. Young guys, put down the guns. No violence. On the roads, please exercise due care and caution. Don't drive recklessly. We have too many accidents, and anything can happen at any time. So don't do that. Let's try to have a very safe weekend. Adios, Andre.
Adios, Mr. Fenelon. Thank you so much. And Mr. Norbert, thank you so much for your time. Thank you. You've been listening to and viewing Meet the Minister on Rev-Up St. Lucia. Thanks for listening and thanks for viewing. Andre Paul wishing you a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.